Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gaming Medley here, and today it's more Star Citizen news. So my video yesterday got a fair amount of interaction and feedback, at least for a channel my size. As some of you may know, yesterday I posted a video detailing an article The Escapist recently wrote concerning Star Citizen that featured current and former employees of CIG Games, the developers of the project, alleging that the company had an extremely toxic work environment, practiced ageism, sexism, and racism, and that the head of human resources, Sandy Gardner, who also happens to be the head of Star Citizen Chris Roberts' wife, would frequently write emails to staff cussing them out. In addition, the article alleged that the project was running short on funding and would not be able to deliver the product that was promised to backers of the game, and indeed may never come out at all, with several employees saying that the project couldn't be done and that the development team spent more time preparing videos for gaming conventions than they did working on the actual game. Since the video went out, both The Escapist and CIG published responses to the article, The Escapist on why they considered their sources to be credible, and CIG on why the article was defamation. Today I'll be going over both of these responses. Both articles can be found in the description of the video if you want to read them yourself. However, they are fairly lengthy, especially the response from CIG since it's a legal dossier, so I'm going to attempt to summarize this whole thing so that we can all get a bit of a better handle on what's going on. First, I'll cover The Escapist's response since it's not as long and there's less to go over. So, The Escapist recently published another article detailing why they thought the sources detailed in the article Star Citizen employees speak out on project woes were credible. According to The Escapist, the author of the article, Lizzie Finnegan, spoke with each source, of which there were 7 ex-employees and 2 current employees, over Skype and on the phone to vet them and verify their identities. The current employees' identities could not be verified, so they were not quoted for the article. Of the 7 ex-employees, over half said they quit CIG of their own accord. 6 were identified through Skype calls and phone calls, while the 7th was identified through pay stubs sent by CIG, a CIG Games ID card, and a phone call. The phone calls with these ex-employees lasted for on average an hour. Emails have been exchanged prior to the phone calls that occurred, and these emails were vetted by the Escapist legal staff. The Escapist has said that they are aware that several of these sources posted on Glassdoor Australia, a website that lets employees post anonymously about their jobs. However, the Escapist has also said that these sources posted to Glassdoor after they had been interviewed and vetted by the Escapist. The Escapist has also said that it did not use Derek Smart as a source. Derek Smart, in case you didn't know, is a semi-retired game developer that seems to have a fetish for taking out Star Citizen and has threatened legal action against CIG for months, although it seems never to come to fruition, and he's generally regarded as kind of a crazy person. So, the Escapist clearly believes that their sources are credible. To me, it does sound like these employees went through an identification process of some sort. However, it's not as if Skype calls and phone calls are the most credible ID services known to man. However, CIG admits that several of these people were probable ex-employees, with Chris Roberts saying that there are some people who of course didn't gel with the company vision or workload and might aim to defame the company because they didn't have a good time working there. Still, 7 people is a small sample pool when compared with the 261 people currently employed by CIG, and it seems like more employees would have come forward with information regarding the work environment if it truly is as toxic as these employees have made it out to be. Derek Smart and Lizzie Finnegan, the author of the article, have purportedly spoken, although I'm having trouble finding a recorded conversation between them. If anyone has such a thing, please link it in the comments and I'll include an annotation. If this is true, it's a direct and immediate conflict of interest for Lizzie. Finally, and most damning, CIG has stated that they do not use company ID cards of the kind that Lizzie used to identify these supposed ex-employees. So although Chris Roberts has said that some of these people may have worked for CIG, the jury is still out on whether or not anyone knows for sure. Even more suspicious is that Lizzie deleted her tweet of one of these ID cards after CIG said it was false. All in all, it's hard to know whether or not these employees were properly vetted, although it's obvious that CIG has some strong views on the matter, so let's look at their response to the whole thing. So CIG recently released a statement which was practically a legal dossier on the issue, saying that none of the claims made in the article were true. This is in addition to Chris Roberts' response to the article where he stated that all claims made were false. In this response by CIG, Ortwin Freyermuth, I hope I'm saying that right, Freyermuth, the co-founder, vice chairman, and general counsel for CIG, says that Sandy Gardner, the CIG head of HR who was accused of being sexist, racist, ageist, and toxic by ex-CIG employees in the Escapist article, has in fact hired several African-American employees who report to her currently, has in fact hired several employees over the age of 40, and is not toxic or discriminatory in her hiring process. CIG claims that all these accusations are highly slanderous, and they also point out that the HR team and Ms. Gardner did not have time to reply to the accusations before the piece was published. CIG also says that they have never received a complaint regarding the hiring or employment practices that go on at the company. In addition, CIG says that the Escapist justification for using these sources is pretty much BS, and that the ex-employees could have easily communicated by email to set up a defamation attempt. CIG also points out how small the sample pool is. CIG also mentions that when the Escapist sent a set of questions to them for comment before the article was published, the response window that the Escapist gave to Chris Roberts and CIG was incredibly small. In addition, despite the fact that CIG did respond within this time limit, their email regarding their response apparently went to Lizzie's spam folder, so she failed to receive the response. CIG points out how she should have checked her spam folder before publishing the article. CIG also mentions how the accusations of bigotry and discrimination on the part of Miss Gardner were not addressed in the article summary the Escapist sent to CIG before they published the article. CIG also mentions that these sources could have easily been shopped around by an unknown perpetrator, and although CIG acknowledges that these sources may have been credible, once again they address the issue that there is no way to know for sure that this is the case. As of this video, CIG is currently preparing to sue the Escapist for defamation. Ooh boy. Well, this certainly has taken an interesting turn. When I first started covering this, I'll admit I was leaning towards the Escapist. Gaming companies burning consumers is something that happens quite often nowadays, and with the ambition of the Star Citizen project, it wasn't difficult for me to believe that such a thing could happen to the Kickstarter backers of this project as well. However, the fact that CIG is willing to sue the Escapist over this indicated to me that they are confident in their claims. Legal action like this is no small thing. Although it's possible that the allegations are true, and this is CIG attempting to bully the Escapist into taking down their article, that seems more and more unlikely as this discussion continues and new bits of the story are uncovered. The vetting processes that these ex-employees went through seems untrustworthy, even if CIG does state that some of those interviewed are quote disgruntled ex-employees. In addition, this sample pool of employees is so small that one has to wonder if it's credible at all. It seems like if such heinous things were truly occurring in the CIG offices, more employees would have spoken about it. That being said, I do think that many of the concerns I mentioned in my last video are still valid. The project is simply so ambitious that I think everyone should be wary of it and aware of the fact that it could simply fail to work, at least in the way Chris Roberts has promised it will work. However, these concerns are something that people should have had whether or not this article by the Escapist had been published. These are common sense things that any prudent consumer should be aware of. When you have a project this big, there's always the possibility of catastrophic failure, which is something I wish more diehard fans of the project would realize. It's okay to want something, but it's also okay to realize that what you want might be so hard to get that you might never get it in the way that you want it. People have invested a lot of money into this game, true, and that makes them want to defend it. True. However, that some people in the fanbase seem so hellbent on hunting down people with concerns about the game that it makes it very hard to voice any concerns you might have about the product is not okay. It is also important to note that it is in fact standard journalistic procedure to not name your sources, especially in cases like these, where death threats would probably be received if these people were named. So people who are saying that the Escapist sources should come forward are simply wrong. If these sources did come forward with their names and identities, they would probably receive, as I mentioned, multiple death threats as well as probable physical violence. Overall, it's still a muddled issue, but it looks like things are definitely tipping in the favor of CIG, if just because the threat of legal action speaks very strongly about this issue. For more coverage about this issue and other gaming news, as well as some other tidbits like fan art drawings that I do, or Let's Play series, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Also feel free to leave a like, a dislike, a comment, a share, a favorite, or whatever you think this video deserves. Thank you all so much for watching. GM out.